By the late 70s, America was tired. Gas was expensive, disco was still happening, and the Mustang, once a symbol of freedom, was slowly turning into a rental car with decals. Ford needed a miracle. Instead, they built a platform so durable it would survive 3 decades, multiple hairstyles, and one near-death experience involving a car named Probe. This is the Fox platform Mustang. Welcome to Auto Chatter, where facts, opinion, and speculation will be given. Leave a like if you enjoyed this one, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's get foxy. For the '79 model year, Ford hit the reset button. Out went the Mustang II, and came a clean, boxy, European-influenced Mustang riding on the then-new Fox platform. A lightweight rear-drive architecture designed to be cheap, flexible, and accidentally legendary. The more pedestrian-styled Fairmont and Zephyr arrived first, but the Pony is destined to become the greatest beneficiary of Ford's new platform. Other cars end up having it too, but that's for another chatter. Engines at launch was the 2.3-liter Pinto motor, inline 4 with around 88 horses, the 2.8-liter Cologne V6 rated at 109, and the 302 V8, better known as the 5.0, at 140. If these sound familiar to Mustang II owners, it's because Ford basically carried over the drivetrains. A 3.3-liter inline 6 became available later in the model year, as Ford had trouble keeping the 2.8 V6s on the shelf. It was rated at 89 horsepower. Another option that arrived a bit later was giving that Pinto motor some boost. A turbocharged 2.3-liter debuted rated at 132. This made it about as quick as the V8 ones, but highway mileage was closer to the mid-30s as opposed to the mid-20s with the 5.0. The biggest drawback with the turbo was their desire to visit the Ford Service Center for problems more often. The top-trim Mustang wasn't a GT yet. You bought a Cobra. They had the Turbo 4 Standard or 5-liter V8 as an option. Curb weight that was around 2,800 pounds, transmission 4-speed manual or automatic. The base price then was about $4,494, around $2,100 today. Sales was 370,000 units or so. Ford offered a Pace Car Edition replica, as one was used for the Indianapolis 500 that year. 10,487 were made, and all were turbo or 5.0 versions. America looked at the new Mustang and said, "I think I like this," and bought the hell out of it. But then reality hit. Emission regulations tightened, fuel economy panic attacks set in again, with the 70s leaving us with another OPEC oil crisis, and horsepower quietly left the building through a side door. Guess the malaise era isn't quite over yet.
What? Over? Did you say over?
The 80 had the 302 shrink into a sad 255 V8, and it was rated at 118 horses. A 2025 Nissan Versa has 4 more than that. Just saying. To make it worse, a mandatory 3-speed auto came with it for emission reasons. Turbos are now your true performance option, and you can get one of those with an automatic too for some reason now. For 81, the sadness continues for the 8-cylinder, besides Ford finding 2 more ponies giving it 120. But thankfully it's near the end of the road for this short-lived V8. The intent was better mileage, but it really didn't pull that off. I mean, it's 1.2 mile per gallon improvement. Is that worth it? In more sad news, the turbo was dropped unless you lived in Canada. These carbureted turbo engines had their share of problems, so I'm guessing Ford got tired of paying warranty claims. For 82, though, the 8 GT returns, and so does the 5.0 badge. Ford proudly proclaimed the boss is back, as it was absent for about a decade. Available only with a 4-speed manual and at 157 horsepower. Motor Trend actually managed to break the 7-second barrier to 60 with one, which was pretty speedy then. Automatic GT buyers were not so fortunate, as they got the carryover 255 in an automatic. There's still the scent of the malaise era, but Ford's almost free of it now. MSRP climbs to $6,800 by now. Inflation adjusted, it's about $20,000. Sales slide though, 80, 271,000, 81, 183, 82, 130. These cars ran on vibes and name recognition. Then, like a Rocky montage set to Van Halen, the Fox Mustang got its act together. For '83, the convertible returns after being gone since the early '70s. The inline 6 is replaced with a 3.8-liter S6 V6, good for 112 ponies. By '84, the Mustang SVO debuts, turbocharged, intercooled, and misunderstood. Rated at 175 to start and as high as 205 during their short run from '84 to '86. The front end on '84 SVOs foreshadowed what the other Mustangs would look like. But '84s and early '85s had to settle for regular headlights, as the DOT did not approve the flush-mounted ones until later. Also, a GT350 model arrived as a 20th anniversary edition. They didn't run this by Carroll Shelby first, and Ford lost in the court battle. Shelby was firmly on Team Chrysler at that point. For '85 and '86, the 5.0 finally wakes up. It's now goes from 175 up to 225. 5-speed manual hits the scene for V8 versions later in '83. Bye-bye 255s, as the automatic V8 models were 5.0s too. Fuel injection arrived for '86. 0 to 60 drops into the high 5-second range, and the weight stays under 3,200 pounds. Pricing at this point was around $8,000 to $9,000, so $23,000 to $25,000 now. Sales do bounce back, with '86 alone moving about 224,000 units. This is when Camaros started accidentally missing red lights if a 5.0 was there. Now, by the mid-'80s, Ford executives had a thought, a terrible thought. They planned to replace the Mustang with a front-wheel drive, Mazda-based coupe we came to know as the Ford Probe later. I read somewhere it may have been christened the Mustang III. Pop-up headlights, 4 and 6 cylinders, and front-wheel drive. Basically a Japanese MX-6 in swoopy sheet metal, and some parts were even borrowed from the RX-7s at the time. Sure, the Japanese had a reputation at that point for making good stuff, but this wouldn't be a Mustang to the eyes of many. What's next? Calling an electric crossover one? Anyway, the Ford Mustang was planned to become a classic trim, sold alongside it and phase out over a few years. Think '90s F-150s when they sold the original boxy and new rounded S10 looking ones at the same time. Then a car magazine blew the lid off Ford's evil plan. Fans revolted. Letters flooded Ford HQ. Somewhere a Fox Mustang revved angrily. The outcome? Mustang survived. Probe becomes its own car. The Mustang lives on out of pure, unfiltered backlash. This may be the only time in history a car was saved by angry mail. Sales went up on the Mustang as they were starting to linger before. One would think GM laughed at this spectacle, but truth was they had a project around the same time called GM80. By 1990, they planned an all-new front-wheel drive Camaro and Firebird, complete with a quad-4 engines and maybe a V6. Oldsmobile was possibly going to get a more adult version of the car too. All-wheel drive was even on some engineers' wish lists. Composite panels like the Fiero had was to be used, and they would be built in the same plant as the two-seater Pontiac in Detroit. Problem was they couldn't achieve the weight-saving targets that going front-wheel drive and using plastic body parts was supposed to help do, and it didn't fare well in internal crash tests. Sounds less than sporty and potentially dangerous. Not a good combo. By late '86, it was scrapped after millions was spent, and they ultimately had nothing to show for it. Had these cars happened, the Fiero may have seen a second generation too, but as Fiero sales alone wasn't keeping the factory's lights on, the plant in Detroit was shuttered. Ultimately, the F-body would be used yet again, starting in the early '90s for one more go, and Ford kind of did the same thing later too with the Fox. For '87, Ford facelifted the Mustang. Arrow nose, updated interior, still very much a Fox underneath. This is the Fox Mustang, the one in rap videos, the one at every street race, the one your neighbor swore was almost done. The 5.0 is now rated around 225 horses, 5-speed manual, solid rear axle, no traction control, confidence alone would get you by. Available standard in the Look at Me GT or more stealthy and lighter LX trims, especially the notch. The V6 and turbos were gone. Base power was the 2.3-liter Pinto engine with around 88 horsepower. Basically the same engine Mustang IIs had in '74, but now with fuel injection. Felt bad for those cars, as I remember the insurance still being high, even though performance was not. Lots of young people potentially running into things with them, I guess. Pricing by the late 80s for a GT was about 12 to 15 grand, which is 28 to 35,000 now. Sales-wise, late 80s peaked about 210,000 a year. Early 90s, though, there was a dip because of a recession. Now, for 90, the 25th anniversary edition was originally planned as a 7-Up contest car, which explains the colors. Only 4,103 of these were made, and from what I've read, it's a popular collectible. 92 offered an attractive summer edition. Only 2,193 of those were produced, and all were 5.0s. For the 93 finale, there was an SVT Cobra, 235 horses, better brakes, suspension, and intake, the best Fox Mustang ever built. Ford also produced SSP packages for law enforcement and government use from 82 to 93. These were popular pursuit vehicles, especially with highway patrol. I remember there was a particular one in my hometown. People feared would end up behind them with the blue lights flashing. Now for 94, Ford unveiled the SN95 Mustang. New body, new interior, same basic bones. The decision was made because the Probe, if you recall, was destined to be the next Mustang, but a lot of R&D was thrown into that. Like GM did with the Camaro and Firebird, revise what you had and give it an all-new look. Ford followed suit. Internally known as Fox 4, it was stiffer by 30%, platform, safer, still rear-wheel drive. Initially, the more rounded look was a nod to Mustangs of the past, mixed with 90s Jelly Bean. For 99, Ford gave the car a facelift with a new edge look. This styling direction was used in other Fords then, like the Focus. The Pinto 4 was replaced with a 3.8-liter V6 as the base engine, good for around 145 horses. Later, 6-cylinder ones had power approaching 200. Now, over the years of these, 94 and 95 was the last of the 5-liter V8s, rated at 215 horses. SVT Cobra models had 240. GM decided enough was enough, and the new for 93 V8 Camaros and Firebirds sported 275 Mustang-beating horsepower, plus they handled better than a standard GT. But sales-wise in the 90s, the Mustang generally outsold the F-body twins due to their more livability, day-to-day reputation. For 96, the 4.6-liter modular V8 takes over for the 5.0. Horsepower initially was about the same as them, 215. 99 and up, there were now 260 horsepower GTs. Z28s and Trans Ams was over 300 by then, so the war raged on. Mustang Balance was still beating the F-body's Brawn sales-wise. For 2001, the Bullet Mustang is here to recapture some Steve McQueen greatness. Came in a few other colors besides green, had performance upgrades, and lacked a rear spoiler. 5,582 were made. For 03 and 04, there was the Cobras, 390 horsepower that was supercharged V8 Insanity, with 32 valves, 6-speed manual, independent rear suspension, and a whole lot more. The hottest of those models made, and getting more was just a pulley change away horsepower-wise. Even stock, some car mags were hitting 60 in 4.5 seconds with these. Mach 1s were also an option for 03 and 04, had 305 horsepower and a functional shaker hood scoop. Just under 17,000 were made for both of those 2 years. By this time, Firebirds are gone forever, and Camaros are waiting for a Michael Bay Transformers movie years later for a comeback. Mustang is ultimately victorious, though, by being the last pony car standing. Pricing for a base car was about $15,000 to start, which is about $31,000 today. A 2004 base was up to about $19,600 or $32,000 now. Sales-wise, late 90s was the resurgence. 2000, they peaked at 215,000 units. The platform was finally showing its age, though, by '04. By now, the Fox platform had seen carburetors, fuel injection, superchargers, and 3 different generations of bad tattoos. But the Fox platform was finally retired, as the new one will get underpinnings based off cars like the Lincoln LS, Jaguar S-Type, and the retro T-Bird. But that's for another chatter. From '79 to 2004, the Fox platform spanned 25 years, underpinned 4 million Mustangs, survived emission laws, fuel crisis, recessions, and the Ford probe. Became the most modified Mustang ever. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't the most refined, but it was cheap, fast, and always there. And if you went to a car meet between disco and dial-up, you saw a Ford Mustang, probably several, and still made to this day. Anyway, this has been my Fox Mustang chatter, and I hope you enjoyed it. Remember that like button, if so please, and until next time, I'll be keeping the headlights on for you, and chatter out.